Hello, everyone. My name is Coach April Williams. Y'all know who it is. And this is another episode of December Daily Diaries Dialogue. And we're on day 19. Yesterday, if you joined me, I was with another group of coaches, powerful program that we were on, Coffee Conversations. And so we did that instead of December Daily Diaries. And on Saturday, we took a break. We rested. Y'all know I'm about self-care. As you see, my sister Nomi has a prior engagement today, so she's not with me. But the show must go on, right? All right, so today we are talking about family unity and grace, bringing peace and love to family gatherings. So, again, I am a mental health life coach, but I like to call myself a journey guide because I like to give my clients some of the best places to stop along life's journey. So that's who I am. Now let's get into this topic. Now, the holidays are a time where family dynamics can either bring us joy, right, or stress. So, how can we cultivate unity and extend grace even when things aren't perfect? First of all, let's discuss family dynamics and the need for grace. Okay, so let's just be real, y'all. In family gatherings, they can be draining. First of all, they can feel like you're walking into a room filled with landmines of unresolved issues. Right? And so you have the differing opinions and old wounds, and all of that stuff can, when you see somebody that you've had an issue with for quite some time, if you haven't seen them since the last holiday, then and you haven't spoken about it, things can be a little triggering sometimes. And so the holidays gives us an opportunity, though, to choose peace over pettiness. Okay? Peace over pettiness, and then grace over grudges. Now, I want to be clear. I'm not talking about um, bigger issues. So if you have someone who is in the family who has done some serious harm to another person in the family, if that family member has forgiven but chooses not to hold a relationship with that person because it's triggering for them or for whatever reason that is their boundary, then we respect boundaries, right? So, but what I'm talking about is the pettiness and the grudges over little things, okay? We don't want to go through the holidays and not show love and not give grace because no one is perfect. So, here are some tips for navigating family gatherings. Number one, like I said, set boundaries. Decide what conversations are off limit so that you can avoid unnecessary tension. Talk about that stuff beforehand. If you have to have a family meeting beforehand, talk about it and say, hey, listen, I know what happened last year. We're not talking about that this year. It hasn't been resolved. We want to have peace in this season. So, and if you come into my house, if the function, frankly, is at my house, that's what we're going to have. We're not doing all that stuff. So I'm going to need for you to leave the pettiness and the grudges at home. Okay. So, and then also understand that we can only control what we can control. And what can you control? Yourself. Worry about yourself. Yeah, I said it. So, be intentional prior to gathering together about discussing what you will talk about, what you're willing to talk about prior to going over there. So, amongst your immediate family, If you're going over to someone else's house, talk amongst yourselves so that everyone knows, listen, we are not going to allow anyone to trigger us this holiday season or any other time, right? So if so and so brings up, we've already discussed that we're not talking about this topic. So we've already discussed this. So if so and so brings this topic up, change the subject, move to the other room, do whatever you have to do to ensure that you keep the peace, right? Because the holiday is about the Prince of Peace. So we don't want no messiness and no pettiness during the holiday season, okay? So decide beforehand that you're going to walk away if anyone tries to speak about the things that you've already said you're not about to speak about. All right, and then number 2, focus on gratitude. Okay, so once you're there, of course, begin everything with prayer so that you don't discuss the things that you said you wasn't going to discuss, right? But also focus on gratitude. Sharing what you're grateful for is so important, and it sets a positive note. It sets the atmosphere. So set the atmosphere with prayer, with thankfulness in your prayer, first of all. And then once you've gone through that prayer, talk about family history that is positive, the things that you're grateful for. You know, we've talked about how the holiday season can be rough for some people because um, loved ones have passed away during the holiday season, or maybe they've just passed away recently during the year. And so this is the first Christmas without them. And so you want to make sure that you are talking about them, but not as if there's no hope. You're talking about them in the positive manner. You're reminiscing on the positive things that they brought to the table, the reason why you miss them so much because of their positivity. So set the atmosphere with prayer and gratefulness. Number 3, extend grace freely. Grace is a free gift. You don't have to pay anything for it. Okay? So recognize that no one, including you, including me, is perfect. No one is perfect. So extend grace. When people make mistakes, instead of, I knew she was going to do like that. I knew she couldn't shut up. See, why we have to go there? It don't have to be all that. Extend grace so that you can continue to enjoy the holiday season. Okay? Um, Colossians 3 and 13. Let me read that for you. Bear with each other and forgive one another. If any of you has a grievance against someone, forgive as the Lord forgave you. All of these things are about forgiveness. It starts there. So even if you have not discussed what happened last Christmas, last Thanksgiving, whenever it was, even if you have not discussed that, you should have already forgiven in your heart. You don't have to have something resolved. You don't have to have someone to apologize in order to forgive, because God forgives us even when we don't repent. Okay? Even when we don't turn away and go back and go in a different direction. He's forgiving us without anything for us to have to do. We don't have to do anything to receive his forgiveness. And so that is what you have to remember, that we should be doing that for others as well. So, because unity begins with forgiveness and understanding. So, just as Christ forgave us and continues to forgive us. Now, some practical ways to foster family unity. So, family unity doesn't mean avoiding difficult conversations. Now, we've said, okay, we've decided what topics we're not going to talk about. But in case there is some things that if there's something that needs to be discussed, approach it in love and grace, not in attitude and stankness. Yeah. You want to approach it with love and grace. So, and here's how you can foster unity during your gatherings. But understand, it may not necessarily be the most appropriate time. You have to make that decision. Make that decision for yourself and for your family. So decide whether or not the topic is necessary to be covered during the holidays, and if it can be discussed in love and grace without Uncle Jim and Cousin Bob getting into it. If the answer is no, you might want to rethink having that conversation. If you know that they haven't grown from last time, table it. Okay? But be respectful of everyone's wishes. If someone says, hey, I don't want to talk about that right now, let's just enjoy each other. Respect it, because that's their boundary. Okay, so incorporate unity activities. That's the first practical tip. So you can play a collaborative game or share stories that bring everyone together. Okay, that's one way. You can also celebrate each other. Acknowledge each person's contribution or milestones from the past year. Hey, I heard uh, Greg was doing X, Y, and Z. Oh, yeah, I did hear about that. That is awesome. Greg, I'm so proud of you. I'm proud of everything that you've accomplished in this season. This past year, I know you've had some ups and some downs, but overall, you're doing the daggone thing. So I want you to know that I'm proud of you and everything that you're doing in this season. Acknowledge that. Acknowledge that. And that's my husband's name, y'all. So, and it couldn't be more true. I am proud of him. All right. So, pray together. We started it with prayer and we ended it with prayer. Pray throughout. Listen, pray in your spirit while things are happening. Even if you're not praying out loud, you need to pray without ceasing, because we know that it's other people that's not. And it's going to be some people that are going to come there for the pettiness and holding a grudge. Make sure that you are on guard, that you have your whole armor on so that you can get through the whole family gathering without any incidents. And pray for others that their intentions be right as well. Okay? So, like I mentioned before, I talked about this the other day. One of the things that we started doing as a family was incorporating um, little notes of what we appreciated about each person in our family and placing that in their stocking. That is a way to produce healing and joy within your family. Say something that's meaningful, though. Don't just say, oh, yeah, I'm proud that you got an A on your Spanish test. I know it was hard. No, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about meaningful conversations, meaningful notes that will bless the person in your family. I can appreciate all that you do for the family. I appreciate the sacrifices that you've made for the family. I know things have gotten hard or whatever, but I can appreciate the growth that I've seen, right? Say something meaningful, not just about the surface level. Go deep, be vulnerable. It's okay to be vulnerable, okay? So, Ephesians 4 and 3 says, make every effort to keep the unity of the Spirit through the bond of peace. That scripture can help you in your family gatherings. When you are of the mindset of keeping peace, then you're going to offer authentic words of affirmation. You're going to walk away from the argument that your cousin is trying to start. Okay? You're going to be loving and not walking around with a stank attitude. Okay? You're not going to have written all over your face, you don't have to say a word because you ain't smiling. They don't have to look at you and be like, what's wrong with her? She probably mad at so-and-so because of what happened last year. You know it happens, people. So chill out. Keep the peace. You keep the peace, you keep the bond. Okay? Unity takes effort. It's not an effortless thing. It takes effort, but it's worth it. It is so worth it. Imagine the feeling of next year when you can reminisce on, hey, remember what we did last year? Hey, you remember that dance? Hey, we did. And then we did that spit. You can reminisce on the positive things instead of you remember Greg and Junior Boy, they got into it and they was swinging, they uppercutting. What? No, that's not what we're talking about here, right? We want to keep the peace. So make an effort. Make an effort to go out of your way to be extra peaceful this holiday season. Okay? Be extra nice, extra loving. Show grace. Make an effort. It's too easy to look at somebody and roll your eyes. Some of us do it without even knowing it. It's too easy. Okay? So let's see what grace in action is about. Let's pause and reflect. Reflect on what is one way that you can extend grace to family members this holiday season. Drop your thoughts in the comments, okay? Grace doesn't mean we ignore the issues. I'm going to say it again. It doesn't mean that we ignore the issues, but it does mean that we approach them with a heart willing to forgive and move forward. Okay? And then when in doubt, remember love covers a multitude of sin. Sometimes it's not about a perfect gathering. We talked about perfectionism. It's not about a perfect gathering, but it's about the love that you bring to the table. And so remember that as we go into Christmas Eve tomorrow and Christmas Day, as you go into your family gatherings, remember that these gatherings are a chance to reflect God's grace and love to those closest to us. Let's be the peacemakers in this season. Can we do that? Let's be the peacemakers and we can show unity and grace in everything that we do. But it doesn't stop at the holiday season, y'all. This is just a good opportunity to talk about it, but it shouldn't stop there. We need to go into 2025 with the same mindset. Renew your minds. Take this opportunity, take this season as an opportunity to renew your mind and the way that you move forward in your family and in your relationships, period. Choose peace over pettiness. Okay? Now, thank you again for joining me for another December Daily Diaries dialogue. I want to tell you before we go that, of course, tomorrow's Christmas Eve. My son LG will be here. Woo, woo. And then on the 29th, my baby boy CJ will be here, and I can't wait. So we're taking Christmas Eve and Christmas Day off. However, we will be back on the 20, let's see, actually coming back on the 29th. We'll be done for the rest of this week to enjoy family in unity and love. But on Saturday, we'll be back. The last 3 days of the year, we will be going live at noon instead of 7 p.m. We want to allow people to enjoy the holiday season, and we realize that going live a little bit later can sometimes conflict with our schedules. And so lunchtime, we're going to hop on for 15 minutes and hop right back off. Okay. So I thank you for joining me again. Please join us again on Saturday, December 29th at noon. That will be our next live. I thank you again. I hope you all have a blessed holiday season, a Merry Christmas, and I'll see you again on Saturday. Y'all ready? Let's go.